But like we're gonna just start. I want to read your bio, let everybody know who you are and everything like that, and then just throw out some questions for you, man, so you can answer for everybody. Let them get an idea of who you are, how you got to where you want to be, and things like that.
Sure.
I'm excited, but I'm nervous and anxious at the same time, man. All right.
Me too.
All right, so he began his career, his teaching career, as a social studies teacher at his junior high school, alma mater, Satellite West.
That's right. That's right. That place changed my life.
He taught both social studies and math at the beginning of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
During his teaching career, you was named Male Role Model of the Year, Staff Member of the Year, and named Master Teacher. That's definitely big time right there, man. Definitely.
Forgot about those things.
So many of them come up. After receiving your master's degree, his master's degree in education administration at Fordham University, he was appointed assistant of principal in charge of Satellite West Middle School. So that's the same school that you went to junior high school in.
Came back twice.
That's what's up. It sound like a rap. Sound like a rhyme or something. Came back twice.
It's Jordan.
Yeah, literally.
I didn't retire in between, but still.
Okay. And then you trained at Yale University for Commerce School Model?
Yeah. Commerce School Development Model.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain what is Commerce School Development Model?
So it was really just training educators how to look at the whole child, not just one part of who they are academically, are they good at math, how can I help them, but everything, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and understanding that your role as an educator is to develop the whole child. Like nobody comes to you as just an academic piece. They come to you complete. Like, so if you come to school and you're hungry, can't learn.
Yeah.
So you have to address the whole child. And if I'm emotionally in trauma, then again, I can't learn. So one of the things I learned, not at Yale, but through another training we were doing was, like if somebody released a tiger in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy, release a tiger in here and then ask you what 6 times 8 is. Your body literally, your brain shuts down. That part of your brain literally shuts down because you are in survival mode. So you can't answer what's 6 times 8.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, we go to school and there's a tiger chasing us. It's not visual to people, but that's part of what doesn't allow us to learn because we have unaddressed trauma. So it was really, Yale was kind of just starting to open my eyes to things.
Okay, that's what's up. And it says that the training that you received at Yale mirrored your passion for meeting the development of needs of children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And shortly after that, you was handpicked for an inaugural class for NYC Leadership Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Upon your completion with the NYC Leadership Academy, you was appointed principal of Satellite 3 Academy?
Yep.
Is that like a spin-off of your middle school or?
So it was designed similarly, but these were for children who were struggling in academics.
Okay.
What was interesting, Satellite West at one point was a gifted and talented school.
When you was growing up?
Yeah. So this school was it's like, let's create that same kind of environment because it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't have to take a test to get into a small school that's going to nurture you. So that's what Satellite 3 was. It was like, nah, we're going to create this small, intense, high expectation environment for children that don't get those high level scores.
Yeah.
And we're still going to churn them out. We're still going to produce. So that's what that school was for.
So
that's why we took the same name, Satellite.
So it was more about, even though the kids don't get the test scores, but however, like I look at it like it's a quote that Albert Einstein once said was, if you judge a fish by the way it climbs a tree, it will live its whole life thinking it's stupid. Mm-hmm. So basically, the test scores only give you so much of a kid, but there's kids that have different talents in other areas that we don't really look upon, but because we're in those, I guess, structured areas, we only see that. We only see the math, the science, and things like that, but you don't see the music or the artistic
Right.
or those things like that. So that's what you brought out of those kids? Just
Yeah,
to an extent?
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But it also went beyond, obviously, the arts. Because
Okay.
a lot of the schools will say, if you test in, then you get to the good school, right? Like a lot of the really, really good schools everybody want to go to, you have to test in, or you got to show your report card, you have to do this. And everybody is entitled to a good education.
Yeah.
Everybody. And what was happening is, and it still happens, if you don't have that, like, report card or transcript, then your choices are limited,
Yeah.
you know? And once your choice is limited at 11, then your choice is limited at 14, then your choices are even more limited at 18, 21, 25, you know? And that's what it's like, it's a clear pipeline. So what we're trying to do is dismantle that pipeline.
So speaking of the pipeline, I know the pipeline was a part of the program that you was the founding principal at Eagle Academy for.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about that and how that came about and things like that?
So Eagle Academy was the first all-boys public school in New York City in 30 years.
Okay.
So that's the first Eagle started in the South Bronx. And I wasn't the principal of that school. I was the founding principal of the Eagle Academy of Southeast Queens. So we were the third one, and we replicated into each borough in New York City, and specifically in neighborhoods that accounted for 70% of New York State's prison population. There are 7 neighborhoods in New York City, just New York City, that account for 70% of the whole state's prison population. So they're basically funneling our children from the South Bronx, Harlem, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, Southeast Queens, you got Bed-Stuy, the north side of Staten Island. You know, there's certain neighborhoods that just funneling straight from there into the juvenile justice system, into the state correctional system. So our school, we were purposely in Southeast Queens to say, no, we're going to disrupt this. We're going to change this. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of commitment, but everybody's got to do something.
Definitely.
You know.
Definitely. That's what's up, man. No, because I've lived in Brownsville and I also lived in East New York, so I know the talent that a lot of them kids have, but at the same time they don't get, I guess, the opportunities, or they don't see certain people in their neighborhood that maybe, how can I put it, identify with where they want to go to a certain extent. Like they might want to do something a little bit bigger than what their neighborhood can give them, but they only see just that small percentage of the neighborhood. So sometimes, I guess, giving them like that opportunity, like y'all did with these schools, it gives them a male role model.
Yeah.
And it gives them also someone that they can look up to and still feel like they can do more, even though they're in the environment they are in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think models are essential. You know, role models are essential. It's like mowing a path first. It makes it a lot easier for the next person to go down that path. And without a model, we just kind of going through the woods aimlessly.
Yeah.
You know, and some of us get through the woods and get out to the other side, but more of us get lost in the woods, right? So yeah, you'll get a Jay-Z, a Puffy, a LeBron, you know, who got through the woods on their own, not really on their own. They had to have support. Everybody has support.
Definitely.
But a few people get through there. But so many of us just get lost in the woods because there's nobody else who blazed that path that we saw. So part of everybody's responsibility who comes through the woods, whether it be Ocean Hill, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, wherever it is to go back and say, come follow me through here. You know, come, let me help you so you don't get lost.
I like that analogy through the woods. That's dope. All right, so you worked at Eagle Academy for
5 years.
5 years, and then you went to New York City. You became New York City Senior Director of School Culture and Climate in the Office of Safety and Youth Development,
Yeah,
where you oversees school climate initiatives and trainings for the Department of Education.
yeah.
Okay. That's definitely a major step from
It is.
principal
I
to
guess so.
Board of Education, you know?
Yeah, so now I'm in charge of training schools, training school leaders.
Okay.
So more schools can blaze that path. More schools can shine light in the forest.
Yeah. Open up doors for
Yeah.
others.
I mean, it's hard, because you got some people out there not really in it for our children.
Yeah.
You know, the system is doing what it's supposed to do. They're doing this system is creating, you know, mass incarceration.
Yeah.
System has inequities in pay. Doing the same job, getting, you know, women getting paid less. You know, it's designed this way. So we have to deliberately kind of undo it from multiple vantage points. Whether you're in the educational system, you're in government, you're in the private sector, you're an entrepreneur, you're a musician, like everybody's got responsibility, you know.
So to unweave the net that was already like set up from the system and things like that, like how do you think we can go about it? Because I know a lot of times we want to figure out a way to get through it, or to unweave that net, or what like you said, from women to women in their pay, and African American and brown men and their situations, to jail, and to a lot more. Like, how do we figure out a certain step to get there, or to get past that, if somebody wanted to understand? You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, completely. Honestly, I think everybody's answer is going to be individual.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what people can do to undo it is going to depend on where they sit in life. But everybody's got to make sure that they're screaming, that their voice is heard, that there's no Stephon Clarks. You know, like, come on, it's 2018, we're still killing black men,
Yeah.
and there's no accountability. Like, everybody's got to say something, whether you know, like a basketball player, you know, or a teacher, lawyer. It's everybody making sure that we increase awareness, we teach each other. It's like, stay woke, don't let anybody fall asleep on your watch. And gotta help each other. We compete with each other. We bringing each other down. You know, we are seriously coming at one another more than anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I learned early on. Like, unfortunately, you know, black men, we've killed more black men than the Klan has ever done. We've killed more of each other than the public lynchings have ever done.
Yeah.
So we're doing their job like multiple times over. So staying educated and educating each other and not falling into it is also part of not doing it. And, you know, being that man, a real man, and letting others see that. So there's multiple ways people can say, look, I'm going to contribute. But it's going to start with, don't accept things the way they are.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so you was recently voted one of top 40, under 40, by the Network Journal.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're from Brooklyn, New York, and that's one of the questions I want to ask. But before that, I know you're married, you have your wife, and you have 3 beautiful daughters.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
you live in Brooklyn and you're from Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
What part of Brooklyn are you from?
Bed-Stuy.
Bed-Stuy? Do or die Bed-Stuy.
Yeah. It's
Whatever.
different now.
Yeah, definitely. It's totally gentrified.
It's different now, you know, but yeah, born and raised in Brooklyn, grew up in Bed-Stuy, you know, through the 70s and 80s, through the crack era, hit us really hard, hit the community hard. You know, I've seen close friends make decisions that changed their lives, you know, whether it was a decision to smoke crack or sell crack.
Yeah.
And it was basically, we all fall into that trap, you know, trying to get something quick, trying to get that material American dream. You know, we get seduced by that. So, yeah, Bed-Stuy, you know, it just pause because I think of all my friends,
Yeah.
you know, where we all are. And, you know, opportunities. Like, I knew some talented brothers, real talented brothers. But, you know, roaming through the forest in the dark was hard. So, not everybody got out.
Yeah. So do you think it had somewhat to do with single parent homes versus having two parents in the household to a certain extent?
To some extent, you know, I was blessed. Both my parents were in the house.
Yeah.
To this day, my parents still together. Been married, I don't know, almost 50 years now. So they definitely gave me an example. My father was there. Showed me what it was to be a man, not by saying it, but by doing it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I remember. He never said, "Hey, watch me be a man, son." You know, and some of us who are not blessed don't necessarily have that as readily, but it's there to a certain extent. We got to kind of tap into that. Yeah, so I knew I was blessed just to have that. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of money falling from the trees and stuff like that, but you know, now I think about it, in my neighborhood, he was the father for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel like, especially with those type of neighborhoods, a lot of times, like, you might have like a father like you, but sometimes you have that other person like on the other side of the neighborhood who you might see like the pimp or the hustler, and a lot of kids follow behind that guy instead of following behind the man who's working that job or working 2 jobs or 3 jobs to take care of their family.
Right.
They rather follow behind the guy who's hustling in the street because he seems flashy and have those things. So, like you said, we have the opportunity, but sometimes we choose to go the other direction because it seems more glamorous or a little bit more flashy, and that's the thing. It shines that flashy light or that little diamond towards us.
Seducing.
Yeah,
it is. It's choices, you know. And I'm not sitting here saying I went through a life with like all good choices.
Yeah, definitely.
I've definitely made some really bad choices that could have altered my path tremendously. But I was blessed with that support system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how was your grades in school? Like, growing up, like, how was you in school? Like, because I know a lot of kids. Some of them, they grow up. Some of them, they're what they consider the trouble child. Or they might not have the best grades, but then they feel like, oh, because the teacher might talk down to them, that they're not going to be able to be nothing. You understand? So they go to that path of, okay, teacher said I'm not going to be nothing. My parents, they say I'm not going to be nothing. So I don't care.
I completely know and understand. So, you know, my parents were very aware. They knew what was happening. So they wanted to send me to a good school, good elementary school. So I actually went to an elementary school in Canarsie, which at that time was Italian. And there was a lot of racial issues that were happening in the 70s and, you know, early 80s. That neighborhood, they bombed a real estate office for showing a home to a black family. Like, a lot of people don't know that now because you go to Canarsie and it's all, you know, Caribbean American and African American. But jump back 30 years ago, they bombed the real estate. Like, you're going to show black people? So that's why I went to elementary school.
Wow.
So I definitely didn't feel like I belonged there. I got kicked out many times, suspended as an elementary school kid, a lot of fights. Wanted to refer me to special education. I mean, a couple things were on my side. Obviously, I had parents who were very active. My mother was a teacher, not at that school, but, you know, so she kind of knew the ins and outs to a certain degree. I was a typical boy, couldn't sit still, do all of those things. But again, another fortunate thing was I could take a test. Like, I was good. Like, they gave me them citywide tests, I would do well. So it was like, they were mad. They were like, damn, we wanted to put them in a different class, but I hated school. Like, I hated that. They wanted to change. They were, can we call you Kenny? Ken? Like, no, my name is Kenyatte. I'm named after Jomo Kenyatte. liberated Kenya from English rule. Like, I come from kings. Like, you're not gonna call me Kenny.
Yeah.
No disrespect. I got a cousin named Kenny, right? But that's not my name.
Yeah.
You're gonna call me by my name, right? So
So they didn't want, basically, they didn't want to, they probably knew where your name come from, so they didn't want you to have that power to know, even though you understood it.
Yeah.
But they wanted to take that power away from you to a
Potentially,
certain
yeah.
extent.
But I didn't, I mean, honestly, I was in elementary school, 8, 9 years old. There were points in my life, I'm like, yo, why can't I just be David or Mark?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you go through that time, like, I just want to fit in.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't do well in school. I didn't have good grades. But again, I could test well.
Mm-hmm.
So I tested into Satellite West, which is completely different. Satellite West is located on York Street, which is in Farragut Projects.
Okay.
You know, right downtown Brooklyn, but in Farragut Projects. So here, within this, you know, brick cell, for a lack of better terms, the New York City Housing Project, you had this gifted and talented school that was like 97% black and Hispanic. And that's why I went to junior high school for 2 years. And, you know, I brought the same behaviors, the same, I'm gonna fight somebody, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
But they responded to me differently. You know, they were like, nah, you know better than this. They didn't kick me out, they pulled me in. You know, so like elementary school, if I didn't do my homework, I remember teachers like, I don't even know why I asked you.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, as long as you know, right? But then in junior high school, they said, I'm disappointed in you. And it felt different. And I was like, wow. So those 2 years definitely changed me.
So to a certain extent, it has something to do with, well, I want to say love language. So it was instead of punishing you, they showed you love instead of punishing you about the things you do. Because I know a lot of times, even in our community, we like to discipline our kids a certain way.
Right.
And the way we discipline our kids is to beat them or to put them on punishment. But all they're looking for is a little bit of attention and love.
Right.
So that model they created at that school was to show you love instead of punish you and isolate you.
Correct.
Because like the system does, they isolate us, put us in a cell by ourselves where we're just playing over and over in our mind different things. But when you have an environment, a care environment where somebody's there loving and nurturing you, you start to mold and become somebody different.
Yeah, you step up. And they held me accountable. Like, and that's the thing, people gotta understand, like, love doesn't mean I'm not gonna hold you accountable. They were gonna make sure I did my homework.
Yeah.
You know, they were gonna make sure I didn't keep on fighting like that, but they weren't gonna throw me out like with garbage and stuff like my elementary school tried to do.
Yeah.
So the people you love, you do hold them accountable. You know, you're like, nah, you're gonna do this, but with love, it's not just, you know, harshness.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like that kind of thing. We have to find a way, like, how to do that within our own community, but we hold each other accountable, but with love.
A balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to mix it up a little bit. Who was a great leader in your generation? Like someone that you looked up to or someone that you saw that did like some good things, even in your community, maybe on television or period.
So again, I gotta go back. I mean, my father.
Okay.
Like he was that leader. You know, he worked in Brownsville. He headed a Head Start program in Brownsville. He was always working in the community. Like I seen him in the streets breaking up fights. I'm like, Dad, you don't know this.
Yeah.
I mean, he led by example. That's why I said I'm real blessed to have my father. Outside of that, like person I got to see, you know, regularly, and other family members. Like I had uncles, really my grandparents, my grandfathers, like, you know. And then I looked up to the typical like sports stars, right? Like I looked up to Magic Johnson. I liked his style of play, right? I looked up to Unfortunately, I wasn't alive at the time, but Malcolm X had a deep impact on my life. Just reading about him and the Panthers.
Yeah.
And I looked up to Bill Cosby, you know, like what he showed, like, yo. So it kind of hits real hard when I watch the stuff now with Cosby. It's like, oh, can't we have one? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so those are the ones that come out. Mandela. Because again, growing up, apartheid was still real, relevant in South Africa. Mandela was still incarcerated when I was going through my teenage years. He was still incarcerated. Actually, he was freed when I graduated from high school. So, you know, just seeing somebody who's committed, like, said, nah, I'm going to hold on for 27 years and fight, that kind of resilience, that kind of grit. So I had that kind of example there. Those are the people I look to, you know. Definitely music was a great influence, like a lot of people, you know, love groups like P.E., Jungle Brothers. You know, early on, adolescence, that's the kind of music that I was listening to.
Okay. Cool. So what was a major obstacle that you had to overcome in life that got you to a next level?
Choices. Like, I don't know if it was obstacles, just bad decisions.
Okay.
You know? Because when you make bad decisions, you put the obstacle in front of yourself. And that's what a lot of us do with our choices. Like, we make the obstacle. So I say that because it was decisions to get caught up into, like, gangs and fights. And this is after junior high school. This is college years. You know, I was expelled from college for that stuff. And it got so real and caught up in it that I was facing felony charges. But that was my own doing. Like, those are choices I made. Like, I chose to make ignorant decisions. Mm-hmm. You know, where in my heart, of course I knew better. Yeah. So the obstacles I had to overcome was just making good decisions in life. And I think that's the major thing for all of us, like making good decisions. You know, I tell that to my daughters, so like, just make good decisions. And if you make a bad decision, then learn from it. Definitely. Like, don't keep making the same bad decision. Like, yeah. Then we got a problem. Like, I mentioned Mandela, and I just heard a recent quote of his, and it was just like, it made me think. He said, I never lose. I win or I learn. I was like, this brother is like, that's how you gotta live your life. Like, I'm not taking a loss. I'm not losing. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna learn. Yeah. And so I made decisions where I had to learn.
And you learn from him. Yeah. That's the best part about it.
Right. And that's the thing, like, you gotta learn from him. You gotta be able to say that confidently.
But to a certain extent, do you feel like that's, you have to get to know yourself? To learn from it, I feel like you have to start to get to know yourself, to learn from your mistakes instead of blaming others or sometimes ignoring, because I know sometimes we try to escape our problem through alcohol or drinking and things like that. So not dealing with those problems that we put ourselves in and the choices we made.
Yeah. We
never learn from them because we're too busy escaping them, or we just
not holding ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. You know, I credit my parents, but you also, I got good people. Like, I got good friends.
Yeah.
During periods of time who shared like good values. So when I did something wrong, he was like, yo, nah, man, you know, definitely held me accountable. Yeah. And the same thing. So you got to have people around you who are going to be able to check you, you know. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, same thing. Like, able to say, like, nah, you can't do stuff like that. Yeah. Not, you know, you can't do stuff like that and still be with me. kind of thing. It's like, shit, I gotta make a decision. Like,
Definitely.
do I want to keep being stupid and have this? So you got to surround yourself with people who, you got to be a strong enough person to surround yourself with other strong people. Like some people surround themselves with a bunch of people who are just going to be like, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
and go along with stuff. And that's a critical thing. Like, your friends are a reflection of you. So if you look around, all your friends make bad decisions. It's like, damn, what's it say about me? So, yeah, I definitely say it's helpful to have others, because not all of us are strong all the time,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So it's easy to get sucked into the alcohol, to the drugs, to those things. That's why surround yourself with good people, because life is hard, Life ain't no crystal stair.
I can dig it. So how would you define success? Like your definition,
Me
from
personally?
your definition, like how would you define success? Not the book definition or
Oh, yeah.
general definition.
I mean, first thing comes to mind is happiness. Happiness. That I'm contributing to help things get better. And I say that in a holistic way, like family, community. Like, I'm not successful if I'm happy just by myself.
Yeah.
Right? That's not successful. That's not funny. That's not fun. Like, you to be the only billionaire, right? Like, that's not fun. But if you could be a billionaire and all your boys are billionaires, that's
So everybody winning.
right. So that's what I like when I think of success. It's like, yeah, when I can make sure like I'm bringing as many more people on.
Yeah.
No matter what area it is, no matter what arena I'm in, it's like, how many other people can I help? That makes me feel good.
That's what's up. I like that answer, man. Happiness. So I know you let me use a book, which I'm rereading the book. I had to reread it because it's definitely a good book. But give me your top 5 books you will ask. Like if the viewers wanted to know your top 5 books that you've read that has helped you along the way, what would those top 5 books be?
So I mentioned it before, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I might have been in the 9th grade, 10th grade, I read that book. Powerful book. I reread it a couple times since then. So I got some other off the beaten path books before I get to those. Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson.
Yeah.
Definitely. Off the beaten path book would be Celestine Prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
It's taught a lot about energy and the energy that everybody carries and how that plays out. Also along those same kind of lines, the 4 Agreements.
Yes. I read that book before.
Yeah.
Definitely a good book.
So that's definitely a good book. The kind of books I read are more about like how I develop as a person, like what kind of person do I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I thought that was a really powerful book. Another book that I've actually used to train people to be leaders is The Strength Finder. So it helps you tap into what you're strong, what you're good at. Like, to your point before when we talk about schools, like if I'm the next Picasso or the next Basquiat, then I need to tap into that. I need to get into what I'm really good at and my strengths are. And everybody has strengths. And you have to be aware of that.
Yeah.
What your strengths are so that you can play to it. You know, like you have to be aware of that. So that book as well. So those would be my 5: Autobiography of Malcolm X, Miseducation of the Negro, The Celestine Prophecy, The Four Agreements, and The Strength Finder. I also said The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I cheated.
No, it's okay. The more the better, man. What quote best describes you?
What quote best describes me? Wow. I mean, right now I'm living off that Mandela quote.
Okay.
You know, right now, that quote really resonates with me, just about the journey of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you're not losing. You know, I got today. Today is the breath. I never lose. I win or I learn. So right now, that's the quote that's really staying with me. I mean, I'm big on them, so they kind of come and go, and it speaks to me when it's supposed to. So yeah, that one is. And then another one throughout my life is by Martin Luther King. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I say that because we can't wait for injustice to come to us to stand up, right? You can't wait till you have the problem. You have to see it in your brother, your sister, your neighbor, even somebody you don't know, and say, nah, that's not right. I got to step up for justice because that's a threat to my justice, you know? So that's why I have to be outraged when it's Stephon Clark. I have to be outraged when it's Trayvon Martin, Eric Gardner. I can't wait for it to be my brother, my biological brother, right? So, and then the same thing across the board. Like, I'm not a female, but a female should get paid equal pay, right? Like, what am I? I'm waiting for it to be me, you know? So, so that quote as well has always stuck with me about you want to be true, then you got to be true to everybody, you know?
Treat others as you want to be treated to.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. What advice would you give your younger self? That was a deep breath on that one.
Yeah, man. I mean, what advice I'd say is stick to your values.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, your younger self, or since in general you probably already talked to that you and created the you are. So what would you give to the younger generation? You mean?
Yeah. So you got to know the game. This game of society.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, they're caught up in the game of school or the game at work. Like, there's a game and people are playing it. You got to know that game. You have to know the game is being played if you want to then overcome it and master it. And you have to be able to master it to change it. You can't change the game if you're failing at the game. You know, you change the game once you've mastered it to a point, and then you can demand a change. And I say that because I didn't know that the school game well. Like, you know, I didn't do well in the school game. I could take the test pretty well, but, you know, that opened up a lot of doors for me. But that whole game that's played at school, in learning, and talking, communicating with teachers, and all of those different things, I didn't know that. And that's subsequently why I became principal and such, to teach other people the game. Like, you gotta know the game. Don't say the game doesn't make sense. Don't say the game's not fair. Because that may be true, but just know the game and beat it. Like, you know, I would give the example, like, I play basketball, watch basketball, and on a real sense, it's like, yes, it would be simpler if I could just take the ball, hold it, run to the hole, and then put the ball in the hole. It's like, that's easier. Why not just do that? Why do I have to dribble it? And that's what young people say at school. Well, why do I have to do all this dribbling and stuff? And it's like, it'd be just easier if I could just hold it. But that's not the game. So I would say you gotta know the game, because a lot of us are losing just because of that. Just because we don't know the game, or we refuse to recognize it and play by those rules. you know. And I'm not saying that the game is not rigged. The game is fair. It's not. But I had to get through the game in order to do my own school to get better rules.
Deep, man. Deep. Describe yourself in one word.
Passion.
Passionate. Okay.
Yeah. That's the word that comes up right now.
Okay. It's a good word, man. Passionate. Definitely. So I'm starting to learn a little bit about the law of attraction. How has the law of attraction played in your life? And understanding the law of attraction, and like you were saying with the whole thing, the game of life, how has it worked in your life to get you to where you are?
It definitely works in both as a negative and as a positive, right? So when I made bad choices in my life, I was attracting negativity around me. Because of the series of choices I was making, I was attracting other people who were making the same choices.
Yeah.
You know, you surround yourself with other people who are doing the same thing, and then you think everybody's doing that, right? You think it's okay. You think that's fine. And it's interesting just how it works that way. And then once I started making different choices, then either those friends of mine at that time, they started making different choices, or they said, oh look, we're not cool no more, you know. So I think that works throughout everything. Once you are committed to a certain thing, to be about a certain thing, you'll notice some people may drop off, and they may say, oh man, you changed. Oh no, you changed. You're different, right? That's because, yeah, you did. And the thing is, you're no longer attracting that energy from that person. Because you're not giving off whatever energy did attract you initially. And then it works in a powerful way once you really sink into who you are. At least for me, I can say I've been really blessed in attracting opportunities for myself, like in career. Like, it's just, if I say I'm passionate, I'm passionate. So people know, and like, oh yeah, you want somebody to do this? You gotta go to Kenyatte.
Yeah.
You want that? You go to, you know, so it then started attracting those things. People know what you're about. They know you blood, sweat, tears, you're that. You're really that. But first it comes within. Like, you can't just say, okay, I'm gonna attract committed people. You know, I'm gonna attract people who are down for the cause. Nah, you gotta be that first.
Yeah.
Like, you've gotta be that through and through. And then it does happen. And that's why I say we see ourselves in the company we keep, because you're attracting that.
Definitely.
You know, definitely attracting that. So I think always start inward, and then stuff on the outside will come. And in what time? That's
Due time.
yeah. Yeah.
Can't rush it. Can't rush the process.
Oh no. And for each person, it's different.
Yeah.
You know, I think about like great people. You know, in history, some of them it happened when they're young. You know, Jesus was crucified at 33. You got, you know, Martin Luther King killed at 39. And then you got like a brother like Samuel Jackson with his first movie, like probably in his late 30s, right? Like, he was struggling through that period of time. So, you know, when it happens, who's to say? You know, that's got to be your journey.
Definitely. What role did your wife play in your evolving and growing? Like, as a companion, because I know a lot of times, especially relationships and things like that, if you don't have a dedicated partner that's helping you grow and evolve, then you can stay stuck in that same situation. So
I think I would have stayed stuck.
Yeah.
without question, I would probably say stuck. Like, I attracted somebody who is constantly grinding, constantly striving for the next thing. And then subsequently, I'm like, yo, I gotta stay on my grind too, you know. But maybe I could have been more lax if I had a woman who wasn't. But part of it was I was attracting somebody who was bringing that out of me too, and I was bringing that out of her.
Right.
So we were building together. And it's critical that you find people that you can build together with. What can be tough is like you connect with somebody at a certain point, and then you change, and then they don't. You know, that could be kind of tough. But I can speak for myself. Like, my wife has played a tremendous role. We've been together 26 years now, married 18, and you know, like I said before, I made some dumb decisions that could have been a fork in the road, and she pretty much said, like, nah, I can't. You know, ride or die means is like lack of loving accountability.
Wow.
You know, it's like, I'm gonna let
I
you
respect that.
I'm gonna let you do anything dumb in the world, and it's not gonna matter to me. Like, what is that? Like, is that somebody who cares for me? Like, somebody who cares for me is gonna say, you better than that. You gotta do better than that. And if you don't do better than that, then I can't be in this. You know, that's somebody who cares about you.
Yeah.
And said, I'm gonna help you do better, mind you. We're gonna work on this together. But ride or die, you just let me do nonsense? You just gonna let me be less than? And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't, somebody you love, you're not gonna accept less than. Like, I don't accept less than from my daughters, because I know they're better than that. And the same thing with a partner, like, yeah, I'm ride or die. Like, you just gonna accept less than? Like, then you're not a good partner in this. You know? And I think we've kind of had that word ride or die and flipped it to make it like no accountability.
Yeah. That's a lot of words in our community we like to throw out.
Yeah.
And have no accountability to, but that's another subject for another day.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming out, talking. Do you want to promote anything? You want to give a shout out to anybody? Anything like that before we cut it or whatever?
Shout out to all the ancestors who fought the struggle much harder than what I had to fight. Much love and respect to all those who sacrifice for what we have and what we take for granted today. Because without them, there's no me. No question. Ashe.
Peace.